Guys, welcome back to the Eight Limbs podcast. So we'll get right into it. Today we have Megan Hailey. Megan is a brand consultant. She's a fashionista, and she's the owner of Wellness Influence. It's a rejuvenation medical consulting agency. Correct, Megan? Or like a
Um,
wellness agency?
so that's an agency, and I focus primarily on brand partnerships and social
Okay,
media marketing for wellness brands.
love it. And that's how we originally met, right? So we were, both working with a similar brand. Go ahead.
Yep, and I also have Energy Clinic, which is a functional medicine telehealth practice.
Love it. We're gonna get into all that tonight. So guys, I'm looking really forward to this. Megan's going to give some amazing insight. And where can they find you right at the bat? Something I like to do when I'm listening to a podcast, especially if I'm driving and listening, I want to know who that guest is early instead of waiting to the end. So go ahead and drop your social so they can look you up if they're listening now.
Perfect. You can follow me at Meg Hailey _, and it's Haley with a AI instead of a Y.
Okay, love it. So let's jump right into it. So how do you navigate working with brands? Like you see right now, you're wearing the Odyssey tank. Last time we spoke, you sent me some Odyssey in the mail, which was amazing. I loved it. It was so good. How did that relationship come to be?
Well, everything is a branding moment. So you always have to find the opportunity. And what I think is really important is if you find brands that you're already buying the product and you love it, then a collaboration is just a natural next step because you're already a raving fan. And that's what the brand is looking for. They're looking for people that are already passionate about their products, loving them, using them every day, and they're basically already an ambassador. They're just not getting paid yet.
I couldn't agree more. And I think we both shared that. Last time we spoke, I was saying I feel like we both do such a good job of this on the both sides with different type of products on the male and the female side. On that note, though, and this is something people don't talk about a lot, but I want to get to the raw and real. How important would you say that personal image is to a brand's likelihood to collaborate with you or give you product or establish himself with you?
Well, every brand has their customer avatar that they look for and who they want to reach. And
Mm.
so, who they want to work with, your audience has to fit into their avatar. So, who you speak to as a personal brand has to match who they're trying to reach. And that's really important. So, as a creator, it's really important to know your insights, who your audience is, and then how you can speak to them, because that's what the brand is going to want to look for if they're going to want to work with you.
And what about personal image, though? Like your own personal presentation? That's the question. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So personal presentation, well, that will depend, I think, on your value and the brand's values, because there's some brands that are a little bit more edgy and, they have different standards. And then there's some brands that are super conservative. Usually these are like the Coke and Pepsi, like P&G type brands, think of like corporate with a lot of people to go through, and they're going to be more rigid in who they work with, what type of key messaging they're saying. They're going to really nitpick the content versus, a brand that's maybe more of a smaller company, a startup, a little more flexible, a little more down to earth. They're going to have a lot more flexibility with who they want to work with and what that person looks like.
I
Does that,
agree.
does that answer
That's
the
great. No,
question?
that's super well said. Something that I always try to help people understand is like, and this it's been the case at least for myself. All the brand relationships I've been able to navigate through are I need to look like somebody who would be successful using their product. And so if my social media followers or people are seeing like if they're just repurposing my content, a lot of the times when I work with the brand, they repurpose my content for their advertising. So, for instance, Plunge, Newtopia, Sunga Life, different brands, a Performance Elite mattress, they're using me using their product on their ads, and I see it running through my feed. The goal is, from the branding perspective, is that someone will see that, like if you're wearing like fight shorts, and they see me and they see the build, the look, and they go, "Oh, okay, like that's what I want to strive to be like." And so they'll jump in. I see a lot of people that steer themselves in the wrong direction where they try to get a relationship with the brand and sometimes I don't have the heart to tell them. I was like, hey, like you have to think like how that brand benefit from your representing them. When, especially when it's someone that's like maybe really new to a fitness journey and they don't quite have the polished look yet, or their page is a little chaotic. So if someone followed them back to their account and saw who this person was, it wouldn't be really clear that like this person was like a fitness influencer or anyone who has acquired some knowledge or experience.
Exactly. Your content has to be really consistent with your message, with your niche, who you're talking to, what brands you're representing. If you're posting a different beverage every single day, then that's not going to resonate with your followers or the
Yeah.
brand, because that's going to be really obvious that you don't have any brand loyalty, which I think is also becoming more and more rare on social
So
media
rare.
as these platforms
Yeah.
grow. Everyone wants the quick paycheck,
Brand
and they
loyalty is
don't.
so low right now. Let's listen to some recent
Mhm.
stats on that. Brand loyalty in the early 2000s was high. People would stick with the brand for life. Now it is constant trying something new, you know?
Yeah, there's just so much out there. There's so much saturation. And at the end of the day, I mean, I don't blame them, but the creators just want to make money and get paid. So they'll take whatever it is, even if it goes against their values sometimes. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why it's really important for people that are consistent with their posting, what they're talking about, their messaging, who they are, all of that. The brand recognizes that. And if they're smart, that's the creator that they're going to want to work with. And
Sure. Sure. People
luckily,
who's following trust them.
yeah, exactly. You have to build that trust. It doesn't just come, and you have to really work to keep it as well, because the consumers are savvy. People know you're getting paid to promote things. So
Yeah.
your integrity is really on the line here. You have to make sure that what you're promoting is something you really care about.
It's so true. You're an example of this, and my buddy Eric Henman, who I had in the show recently, was an example of this, where I told him on the show, which is like, you know, he, because of how he physically looks and because of the videos of what he physically does, his performance level, this guy's incredible shape, aesthetically and athletically. And, you know, when I see this and I see the performance level he reaches, I told him, I was like, dude, any product that I see you with, I'm probably going to get. And I've done that multiple. I bought the shoes he endorses. I bought the drinks you know, because I'm like, yeah, like this dude clearly is killing it. And so by him endorsing it, it does make it immediately cool and high value to me, right? Same thing with
Mhm.
you. When I see you looking at a problem, like, oh, Megan's going to vet a company well. So if she's posting something, it's probably going to be a pretty legit one. Let me look through and see what this company's about, you know? And it
Actually,
matters.
that's a great segue into how I got involved with Odyssey Elixir. So, my company, Wellness Influence, I only work with ethical, integrous, truly clean health and wellness products. And
At some point, I'm going to be sipping out of a Ghost energy drink, guys, simply because I have it today. But I do agree with everything Megan is saying. So don't let this get misconstrued. Please continue. Here I go.
yeah, we got to fix that. No judgment. But so, anyways, Odyssey, I found Odyssey Elixir because the headquarters and the founder is right here where I live in Florida, and I was introduced to the product. And I get called the police because I'm so specific about ingredients and making sure things are good for you. So when I got the product sent to me, I went through line by line, and usually, especially beverages and things, there's not a lot that I approve just because there's so many artificial ingredients that are added. They add
Yeah.
sucralose and all these artificial flavorings, preservatives. I mean, if you really start to read the ingredients, it's really scary what's out there. And so I read this ingredient list and I was blown away. This ingredient list was incredible. There was nothing artificial, no artificial sweeteners, which are one of the worst things for you these days. And there's a ton of studies now published on that. All natural. Plus, this drink had the incredible healing power of mushrooms,
Mm-hmm.
not the psychedelic kind, but the medicinal, functional kind that are adaptogenic. And then, so I approved the drink. I tried it, of course, and I felt incredible. I thought, oh my God, the world needs this. How can I help this company go to the next level? And so from there, a partnership naturally came about.
Guys, this episode of the Eight Limbs Podcast is brought to you by Cold Plunge. This is the Rolls Royce of all the ice bath units you're seeing now. It is all the rage, and they by far have the most premium unit. It is beautifully aesthetic to look at, so anywhere you put it, you're going to love to see it. It's going to be calling you in every single day. The cold water gives you so much energy, removes inflammation, gets rid of your body fat, and just all around builds your mental toughness by getting yourself to get in every single day. I love this unit. It is a set it and forget it type unit. You don't have to do much besides a little bit of water maintenance. If you're interested in buying one, use code 8limbs at checkout. Yeah, and those are the best kind. It's like I was just saying this on the podcast I was on today, where I was like, it's always I already want something because I've seen it. Right? I'm not like it's rare that a brand comes to me, and it does happen. They come to me, and I say yes, because if they're coming to me, they're like that's I didn't find their product, you know? So like, oh, promote this hydration mixture. Da, da, da. And I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Right. But if I find a brand and I'm already very excited and evangelistic about it, it makes so much more sense because I'm going to be that much more of a spokesperson for them because I'm going to love what it is. Like the bed that I use, I have no affiliation to them and I still can't stop talking about 8 Sleep just because it is so good. Have you heard of 8 Sleep yet? Yeah,
Totally.
amazing. It's a cooling mattress, tracks how you
Yep.
buy a mattress. I was able to take off my Whoop and the Aura Ring, and I don't wear a wearable anymore. I feel like those are actually really messing with my psyche a lot, and I don't endorse them anymore, wearables, just because
Hmm.
that data is not good for you any way, shape, or form. You wake up and you get data on your device that tells you you're supposed to have a bad day. How's that good for you when you feel great? You know?
I think it depends in the interpretation too. If you can get like anything, you can go down the rabbit hole and get so attached to
Yeah.
something, especially the gamification aspect that some of these
Yeah.
wearables have. But when you do try those different things, those different lifestyle changes, and you can see the positive impact it
Sure.
made, it's a really good reinforcement. So
I know most of it was that for me.
maybe
Most of
it's
it was
not
positive.
something yet, maybe
Yeah.
not something you wear every day for year after year after year, but for a period of time to get some baseline data, if you have no data to go off of for yourself,
Sure. No,
it
I'm
can
with you
help
on that.
you.
It is nice. That on the side note, that's why I always suggest like I don't care about counting my macros now and weighing my food. However, I'm really glad I went through a season where I did and I understood my macros very well, just because it gave me a good understanding to just understand what's on a plate now. So like if I look at plate, I can generally estimate the protein, the carbs, the fat, and the calories of something when I wouldn't have known if I didn't dive into it. But I don't want to be obsessed with that shit and let myself live my life like that where I'm like, oh my God,
Mhm.
peanut butter is gonna have this many calories. So I don't, I'm not gonna be that concerned. But yeah, like when you can align with the brand and what they're after and what how they fit your lifestyle, there's a lot of really good synergy. And I think one of the other areas that people steer themselves in a bad direction is that they go after brands just because a brand has following and they want to be exposed through the brand's following, but they don't really care. They wouldn't pay for the product. That's the best thing I would explain. If you would buy the product or you already were buying the product naturally, that's a good fit
Yeah,
versus you're just like, hey, can I have some free stuff? Right. It's
exactly. That's such a good way to evaluate the brand partnership. A lot of things too, it's like, well, am I going to buy this anyways? Would I do it for free?
mm-hmm.
Just for the product? Okay, then it's probably a good fit.
Yep.
But I mean, there's so many companies now that influencer marketing is taking off, there's every company is just trying to gift their products and do different campaigns and just dump money into this arena, seeing the potential. And that's why, like I was saying, it's becoming oversaturated because now these creators are having a chance to lose their integrity, which is really dangerous territory.
Yeah. Something too on that note, I was just speaking about this the other day. I started an athletic apparel line back in 2015. And during that time, we were able to get a lot of our sales organically through Instagram because we had connections to high level influencers. At this time, 2, 3, 400,000 follower accounts in the fitness space. And it worked very well. They would post these leggings, these fitness competitor chicks, and then brrr, sales would immediately reflect. Very different nowadays to how social media marketing works. People's engagement across the board has dropped. People aren't driving as much traffic anymore. So what I'm seeing, especially with the brands that we work with, is that what they care more about is can you create advertising media they can repurpose. So it's not just like, hey, I'm going to post you on my account where I've got 15,000 followers. They don't care too much about that. Hey, I'm going to create you guys really high quality content of me using your product and give it to you guys. And then you can do what you want with it. And they will, and they'll repurpose it and they'll take their ad team and they'll distribute it. And that only benefits you because now I'm on Cold Plunge's marketing. I'm on Utopia's marketing. I'm on Sungalife's website, Facebook ads. I'm all over the place and I'm being seen. So it does help you and your brand. But it's not so much about the following anymore. We've seen that across the board. It's really rare that we can ever leverage someone's following and create sales out of it.
Yeah, the brands are catching on to that, and the creator economy's changed. And now what's taking off is what's known as UGC
Yeah.
creators,
User
user
generated content.
generated content.
Yeah, exactly.
And so at this point, your following doesn't really matter. It's more, how are you on camera? What does your content look like? And can the brand use that across their advertising and their paid media channels?
Yes.
Which, like you said, benefits them a lot more because now they can put unlimited ad spend behind it and control the audience that sees that rather than relying on you and your page and your audience and hoping that the algorithm is working that day so that you can get engagement and reach on that post.
Yeah, that's well said. And it's the UGC, right? So that's like I own a professional advertising company of 13 employees. We use all the big cameras. We do 10, $15,000 video shoots. So some people will be like, okay, cool, easy for you, bro. What about me? And it's like most of the content I make for these brands, I make with this. So it's not like when we are hired, like we did some really cool stuff for Utopia. Of course, we got all the big guns and we shot it in the studio and we did multiple shoot days. We shot an actual commercial for their website. But a lot of the videos that do the best are shot on phone just with good story, good purpose. So what we're seeing, like Eric was even saying that Eric Henman was like, man, like I shoot all on my phone and I make savable, shareable content about how I use the product coming from a fitness expert. And that makes all the difference in the world right there. So
And
the UGC
sometimes,
is huge.
yeah, just the raw, real content from your phone, not highly edited, not highly professional, scripted,
Yeah.
actually tends to perform better. And that has a lot to do with TikTok now, has changed the game of what the people respond to, which is more realness.
Yeah. Yeah, because everyone can tell when something's being a paid actor. Like you can tell, oh yeah, and easy for you to say, right? Like if you guys are watching video, you can see right now Megan's hair is a paid actor in this video today. It looks so nice. It's all put together. It was a joke, but the idea is like you can tell when someone's over polished, when they're polished well. So when you're creating content for a brand and you're in a studio looking great, your haircut's perfect, your shirt's tucked in, you're saying you're like, dude, they're hired for that. And you can tell that, right? One of the things that I'm seeing is happening on TikTok now too is the deep fake ads, which is crazy. Have you seen this stuff?
A little bit about it, yeah.
So right away, like the most influential person when you're selling anything wellness, without a doubt, is Joe Rogan. So if he endorses that product, you're making millions of dollars in sales on that day, and everyone knows that, right? So and every brand that ever is talked about on Rogan, you see they use his podcast clip as one of their ads. It could be that silicone wedding ring. I've seen belt buckles, anything, because he talks about stuff a lot, right?
Mhm.
And so now people are deep faking him talking about their product when he never even brought it up. They're actually cloning the voice and cloning the video clip. So I saw one. They're like, yeah, talking about this fitness product called Alpha Grind or Alpha something, and it's the testosterone booster powder. And he posted, he's like, hey guys, I never endorse this product. This is scary. Like I never had this on my show, and it looks really real. So that's a whole nother side of things, which is crazy, you know?
It's terrifying. AI is going to change everything, and there has to be some sort of new AI to filter out the deep fake AI or
Right.
something,
Right.
because if you can take someone's voice and make them say words they've never said before, you can have someone's face
Yeah.
saying words and phrases and emotion that they've never even done. It's scary
It
what's
is.
happening.
It is really scary. But when I first was aware of this was when Andrew Tate was first arrested, like what, 4 or 5 months back. I don't remember when this was, but he was like a huge figure at the time. He got arrested, and it was arrested on the accusation of human trafficking. And then all these clips on social media were emerging of audio memos that he was sending women. And it was like really just vile, disrespectful, like rapey type audio message he was sending them about what he was going to do to them when he saw them. But they were still like his girlfriends. They were coming to his house, but he was just saying all this fucked up shit. And a bunch of girls were sharing it. This is so vile. This guy's so disgusting. They needed no context. They were just sharing it all as if it was pure truth, right? And then it all
Mhm.
comes out. This is all just auto faked voice cloning. None of it was real. They show how you can do that with anyone's voice. You can, and it's like it didn't sound like things that he had. He didn't speak like that normally. It sounded like his voice, but not the type of things he was saying. And it's like so true nowadays. People need no truth fact, check. They don't need to fact check anything. They'll just share, and just run with something.
Yeah.
Statistics, right? Most statistics people make them up on the fly.
Mhm.
Someone will try to prove their point, and to prove their point, they'll go, "Yeah, they did a study," and they just like make the shit up right there on the fly. And I was like, "Can you show me that study? Where do you see that study at? Like where?" Because they
And then
just
you find out the study was 10 people paid for by the company.
right. But even if that would be better, but most time people just make the stuff up because they want you to. They know you're probably not going to question it. So
Mhm.
for sure it is a tricky industry. That's why it's like being with the product and working with brands that you actually believe in, again, that you would already buy and be a customer of is the best move for it. So Odyssey is amazing. I've personally tried it. I love it, and I had tried it before you sent it to me because in the grocery store it just looks so good. It looks so nice. It stands out. Metatron's cube right there on the front, and it looks so awesome when you see that.
It's the
Yeah.
right
Metatron's cube.
there, the power of the
That's
Metatron's
it.
cube. So it's to harness your power to do good, attract what you want, and feel amazing every
Yep.
day.
I think that's so cool because those two products, Odyssey, have you heard of Slate milk?
No.
It'll be right in the same section in the grocery store that Odyssey's at. Eric Henman's a sponsored athlete by them. And he just actually, when we got the podcast, said, hey, what's your address? I'm sending you a gift package. And it was Slate milk. And it's so funny. It's like, I bought both of those already before you guys talked to me about them. That's a perfect example. Like they caught my attention. I'm like, what is this? Let's try it. And then Slate milk's like a protein milk can. Kind of a cool
Okay.
concept, but yeah, it's like, things that you're already going after is the whole point of that. If you see
Yeah.
it and catch your attention. So
Mm-hmm.
besides Odyssey, let's talk about the testosterone therapy. I know as we talked about last time, but last time you and I had a meeting, we talked for about an hour and the topics were so good. I was like, we should have recorded that for a podcast, right? Especially on
Mm-hmm.
this subject. So I'll let you take the lead on that before I
Yeah, we
jump
could
in.
talk all day long. So at Energy Clinic, our primary focus is TRT, men's health.
Mm-hmm.
And so we support men who have low testosterone and they can get testosterone replacement therapy, but there's also some other medications that can help them boost their testosterone, as well as supplements and, of course, peptide therapy. So it's really a multifaceted approach that depends on a person's blood work. And of course, you have to be a candidate because there's a lot of places out there that will just give out whatever medication somebody wants and they're not doing their due diligence. So we have very strict regulations with who qualifies, who's a candidate, and what medications that they can get. Because also right now, the big phase is the big trend right now that all the celebrities are doing, made popular by Elon Musk, is the semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy medical weight loss. Have you heard of that yet?
That's peptide.
Kind of, but it's more classified as a FDA regulated medication.
I
Peptides
haven't.
aren't necessarily
I've done
regulated.
the BPC 157 peptide. That's the only one
Okay.
we're done. But I don't know too much about them besides that.
There's a ton of different peptides because peptides already exist in our body. There's
Right.
hundreds and hundreds of different ones. It's just part of an amino acid chain. So it's really a signal. So the BPC 157 that you've taken is really, really good for healing. So I'm assuming you probably had an injury
Yep.
and that's why you were taking it.
Yep.
It helps inflammation.
It helps so fast too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned the BPC actually stands for body protective compound.
Yes.
That's what it stands for. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's different ways you can take the peptides. There's the oral route that's capsulated. That one usually isn't as bioavailable systemically because your body has to digest it and there's first liver pass and you lose a lot of the availability of the peptide. So usually the best way for peptide therapy is injections subcutaneously, which would be in like your belly fat, your butt, your hip. And it's really not painful. It's a little insulin syringe. So it's like nothing, but people get really nervous about having to inject themselves.
And real quick, before you go on that, what is your thought on that? I have a kind of an opinion on this subject, but if the fear of a needle and a tiny poke and a second of microscopic pain is enough to stop people from doing something that makes their health that much better, life's kind of playing out how it's supposed to play out. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a lot of sympathy for those things. And I'm talking mostly to men here because I've been from the combat sports world. And it's the guy's like, oh my God, I really want to get good, but I don't want to do the hard conditioning because I might throw up. It's like, cool, then just suck forever. Like there are things that are going to take some sacrifice and maybe some pain or maybe some tediousness or whatever. And it's like, that's why it's good. Would you believe it worked if it wasn't,
Well, our body also needs a certain level of hormetic stress,
that's
which
it.
is,
Hormesis.
yeah, exactly. In order to adapt, grow, evolve, continue to get better and make sure that we're the healthiest that we can be. So we have to choose what we want to put ourselves through, whether it's an ice bath, whether it's injecting ourselves with a recovery peptide or TRT or whatever you might need. I don't know. It just depends on the person. Some people are really, really scared of needles.
Dude, I know. I'm grown men.
Yeah.
I've met grown men and I'm like, hey, then just don't I'm not the guy that's going to talk you into doing something. Like when someone comes to my house, the ice bath is always on discussion and then they won't do it or they'll stand on the side of the tank and they won't get in. And it's like, do you think I care if you get in? Like, it doesn't make any difference to me. Like,
Mhm.
like it doesn't matter to me. If you don't want to get in, then fine. It's not super enjoyable. It really isn't. Like you can learn to enjoy it, but at first it's going to suck. And
Mhm. It's a
if
it's a mental game too,
yeah,
and the ice bath in particular, and you've probably talked about this before, but doing the ice bath in the morning in particular, if you
first
start
thing,
your day with that, lowering yourself into the tub, so not a cold shower, but lowering yourself into the ice bath, that could be the hardest thing that you do that day, and if you get
hmm
that over with, everything else just is amazing that day.
yeah,
Plus, the dopamine reset, all your neurotransmitters firing up, you feel amazing, your inflammation's going down. I'm a big fan of the ice bath.
me too. And I think it's for that reason. At first, it was for body inflammation, just from beating myself up from training. And then I got into the idea of the metabolism and the stress and the immune system. But I'm realizing like, yes, all those things are still part of it. And I do crave it. But something I just talked about in the podcast on before this is the guy was like, hey man, I see you in the ice every day. Are you just like so like Wim Hof about it? And I was like, to be honest with you, 5 years in, it's never any easier to get in that thing. I still stand there with that dread feeling. I'm still like, ugh. It's easier after a workout, like after I got out of the sauna. It's much easier because you're like craving something to cool you off. But in the morning, it's never easier. And like the whole point was the needles and the injections things suck. Doing things that suck are what makes life good. And it's what makes life pleasurable. And it's what makes those moments that aren't challenging that much more enjoyable. So when I finish a really hard day with a bunch of complicated decisions and bullshit phone calls I didn't want to make, and I go down to the beach, which is like miles from my house, and I sit there and relax, I can actually be relaxed and I can enjoy that moment a lot more. But if me going to the beach was just number 15 of the relaxing things I did that day, it wouldn't feel as good. And that's kind of
Mhm.
the whole mission. So you got to give yourself a peptide or a TRT shot or do some assault bike conditioning to lose some belly fat. Do it and just shut up and deal with it, people. I think that's something that like everyone needs. Like people need too much coddling. And like we're in that time, right? Like when you were saying different brands like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, I was thinking about the Bud Light scandal that's happening right now. And I never ever watched TV, but just recently, by recommendation, I've been watching this show called Vikings. I never watched it before, and they're like, "You would just love this show." And it's kind of I know why people are saying I love it, just because it's depicting Viking times where only the strong survive. That's male or female, and that is how it was for most of our existence. A lot longer than it's been easy like this. It was only the strong survive. So you didn't really have the option to be weak or to be lazy or to be afraid. You had to go move your family across the river and find a place to put them down for the night and build a fire. And the more people can get back to those hormesis style stressors, I think the better off everyone will be.
Very well said. I think we need the challenge and we need the struggle. And I think circling back to our topic of conversation, which is social media and making money from it, it's kind of a double edged sword because, well, these platforms and tools have given me great businesses, a great life has come from it. It's also can distort your reality if you're not careful. And one of my passions actually is digital detox and using social media and devices and technology in a helpful, not harmful way. And I think that if we are too conditioned to scrolling on social media and seeing everyone's best life, we think that life should be easy. And we're not going to be willing to do those challenges, those hormetic stressors, those things that we need to do because we think it should be easy, like what it looks like. But that's also not real life.
Yeah, well said.
And
Well said. Yeah, the thing I read this somewhere. I don't know where I read it, but I makes sense. Is that someone's Instagram account is the representation of how their ego views themselves.
I like that.
Like this is who your ego thinks you are.
Yeah.
And what
And
you
it's the you that you want people to see.
yeah, but it's like who your ego thinks that you are, right? And so
Mhm.
I was just talking about this, the podcast on before. Like I meet people in the world, like I just started going to a new jiu-jitsu academy, and some of the people that train there follow my social media and they follow my life and they meet me on the mat and they almost treat me like I'm some sort of a Captain America at first. And they're like, hey man, does this still happen to you? And I was like, yeah, dude, like I'm just like you. I'm just some dude, like sometimes I don't want to come train. Sometimes I'm really tired. Sometimes I gas out. Sometimes I ate bullshit food and I'm a little bit slow the next day. And I try to be as vulnerable as I can and show that stuff. Of course, I don't like when I'm just overwhelmed and frustrated with my clients driving us crazy in our business, I don't talk about that on social media. I'm not like, God, the clients today, I don't, and I probably should, because maybe someone thinks you got it all figured out and it's all smooth sailing. And it's like, no, bro, like we had to deal with 55 extra phone calls today that were not us getting payments from people. Those are us helping people learn how to use their deliveries. But yeah, people need to realize like everyone's life is challenging and we just put the beautiful pictures on there. So one thing I'm doing more of now, and I made a commitment to do this with my girlfriend, is that I will put photos of myself that I don't look perfect. We all know. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, if I know I'm gonna have a shirtless photo taken of me, I'm going to flex my abs, stand up tall, tighten my pecs, and widen my shoulders. I know how to do that shit, and every girl knows how to pose their body how they want it. They know exactly when that camera's coming out. They're like, tight, suck in, tighten out, twist the hips, move the shoulders back. They know. And if you take a group photo and one friend doesn't look good, they think that they're entitled for no one else to post it because they don't look good. But you're like, but that's what you look like. That's what
Right.
you looked like in that moment. That was real life. I didn't edit that. That's what you looked like, dude. Oh, I don't post that. I was sitting down. That's what you look like sitting down, dude. So I'm trying to be more open with myself on that. Like, just post it out. Like, when I sit in my ice bath, I'll sit back, and because of the position I'm sitting there, my belly sits forward more than as if I stand up and flex my abs. And so it can go from like belly to abs, belly to abs. And I'm like, yeah, bro, but those are both in the same moment. Those are 2 minutes apart. And I want to like let people see that so people don't have these crazy body expectations and
I
like
love that. I think it's so important to get to strive towards realness too, because I even have the same train of thought, like, oh my God, I look fat here or something. I'm like, wait, but anyone who knows me obviously knows that I'm not fat. So I don't really
right,
care,
right.
Doesn't
And
really
like, yeah,
matter if
dude,
it's a bad angle or whatever. And actually, one
sometimes
of
I
the
might have eaten a
things,
big meal, and I might have been super full, and I'm sitting there and taking a photo, and someone can be like, "Bro, did you get fat?" It's like, "No, I got full for a little bit. I'll be good
yeah.
tomorrow."
And by the way, anyone who notices those kinds of things, like whatever how your stomach looked in an ice bath, it's like, who's really sitting there for 5 minutes picking apart your photo? That's kind of creepy, and they might be obsessed with you.
It's the ones who are just critical of themselves. Anyone who
Yeah.
notices things is they're noticing things about themselves. So
Hmm.
that's totally true, and I guess that's the grand scheme of it. Is that like the way we use our social media is like I try to show the real rawness. Like, I'm starting to do conditioning recently, and I took a year off of jiu-jitsu because of an injury, which is the injury I was using BPC 157 for. So taking a year off of training on the mat, I stayed in shape with all my other fitness. However, nothing compares to jiu-jitsu cardio. Nothing prepares to that kind of hit, explosive, makes you want to die when you're exhausted cardio, when you're sparring with another grown man in the mat. So my last month of coming back has been rough, bad. Like, my VO2 cardio is just bad. My long steady state endurance is still where it always was, but going through these brutal conditioning workouts where I'm like literally like I feel like I'm coughing out my lungs when I'm going through them. And I had my girlfriend take a video of me just dying in the garage just because I'm like, day one, I'm coming back, but it's like, this is where I'm at now. So it's okay. Like, you might get back there. And that's one thing I'm going to make a more of a storyline piece about, is that I think a lot of people quit their activity, whether it's beach volleyball, jiu-jitsu, whatever. They stop for a year or so, and it's almost impossible to get back. And I'm experiencing why now, because I was so good at something, competing at a professional level. Taking just a year off, I feel like it took 5 years of backset at first, and the ego in me can't stand it that I'm not
Hmm.
as good as I was when I walked off the mat. And so I'm just telling myself, you're very diligent, you're very focused, you can get right back there a lot faster than it took you to get to the first time. But a lot of people will come back after a long break of something and they won't be able to do it because, like, if I'm not the best, I don't want to do it. And that's a very like wrong mentality.
I see that all the time with my sport, which is pickleball, which is it's a mind game, it's mind, body,
Pickleball is just like tennis,
discipline.
but it's smaller quarters, right?
Yeah, it's a smaller court and a slightly lower net and a hard paddle and a light ball.
So the ball moves slow, but you're hitting it hard,
It can move pretty fast and you can hit it
but not
hard
as
or
fast like a
soft.
tennis ball, right?
It's different, but I mean it's a hard ball. It's just very light.
Sure.
So it's a finesse game, and there's not a big learning curve, so you can get really good really fast, but it's like you against yourself, you know? And some days you're going to be on fire and you're going to be playing so good. And the
Yeah.
next day, it's like, what's happening to me? I can't hit a single ball. All my balls are going out. Like, it's like a mind game. And that's why
Yeah.
it's so addicting, because it's continuous improvement and you want to keep playing because you're against yourself, getting better and better and better.
Yeah, that relates to jiu-jitsu so well. Something that I learned that I just talked about in this podcast I was on, which was I, when I said it, he was like, "Oh, that makes sense." I think that the activities, especially when we're talking about physical activities, could be music, could be whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a sport, but your activities, right? The ones that addict us the most are the ones that force us to be super present. And so I can imagine pickleball. I'm picturing like playing tennis. Like you can't think about your phone or anything. You're like so locked into where that ball is going, how you're going to react, how you're going to move, right? Same as jiu-jitsu for a 2-hour practice. My mind is not on my work at all. I'm like locked in, especially when you're sparring. You are so present and you're breathing heavy. So you're hyper oxygenating your brain. So your brain's stimulated through the breathing and through the presence. And it's like, oh, we just crave that so much. That takes us back to our ancestral times, being on a hunt, being involved in something that's strenuous, right? Climbing something. So it's like nowadays in life, we're never present until we are. And when we are, even for an hour, we leave and we feel so good. We're like, you're in a good mood. You're like, so the activities that force presence and then you can't have your phone near you when you're doing are like the best, most addicting ones.
It's almost like getting into flow state with
Yeah.
laser focus and
Yeah.
nothing else matters. No phone, no distractions. You have to be there. It doesn't matter how you look. Nothing else matters
Yeah.
except for the game or the
Agreed.
sport.
No, I agree with that. I love that too. I mean, man, like I can't stop talking on the jiu-jitsu side of it because I'm just so happy to be back training again. I really wish more people would try it out. But on that note too, have you ever done any self-defense or any kind of like protective training?
No, I haven't. I would love to, but I haven't.
Yeah, I was making my girlfriend watch some stuff last night, like women's side of it. Like it's so important to have that in you, like when you just know that you're hard to kill. It sounds
Yeah.
silly, but if you know, like, hey, I'm not an easy target, you carry yourself through life a little differently, especially like
Yeah.
for women who have to have the fear. Like I don't. This is something that she helped me understand. I'm 6'2", 220 pounds. I've been a competitive combat sports athlete for a long time. So I'm completely naive and ignorant to what it feels like to feel like someone's going to get me. Like I don't walk through life thinking like someone might get me. I don't even think like that. I'm oblivious to it. I could walk around. If I'm walking downtown St. Pete at 2 a.m, which I never do, but if I was, I would literally have no fear. Not because I'm so tough, because I don't even think like who's going to see me as a target, you know? But
Hmm.
almost all women think like that. Almost all women are like, yo, some guy could literally try to get me and someone probably wants to come get me. And it's like crazy to think like that. So the reason
And
I was
it's
saying
crazy
it,
to think that guys don't have to think like that.
some guys do, but some guys do think like that. But men who haven't trained or men who are more petite framed, like smaller frame men might think like that. They're more fearful, especially if they're with
Hmm.
a pretty girl. I know that's actually one of the most stressful. I heard about this. One of the most stressful male like identities is a guy who's not like particularly like masculine build with a very pretty girl out, because they now know that all these big alpha males are going to try to talk to the pretty girl, not respect them, and they could be right there with them, but they're going to disrespect. And I've heard this, like, yeah, they'll just come up and talk to your girl or talk to your date or just walk right by you. So they feel like they're stressed like that, which sucks. I've never experienced those things before. But the point is, when you have some sort of training and you're putting yourself in those scenarios, whether you're male, female, whatever, you just feel, first of all, you're more aware and you're noticing more. But second, you just don't have the stress. And when you don't have the stress, you don't attract it. Like when you're afraid, your eye contact says a lot. So if you're like, hey, like, I know what I would do if something popped off in the situation, usually that energy alone just avoids the situation altogether.
Yeah. And there's a confidence that comes from that for sure.
100%. And the confidence carries himself. That's my point. It's like the paradox of martial arts is the more you train, the less you ever get messed with. Because I'll hold eye contact with another man. If a guy's making eye contact with me at first, I walk into a place, me and my girlfriend walk into a restaurant or something, or like a bar area, someone makes eye contact, I'm going to make eye contact right back. There's that 2 or 3 seconds of assessing. Are we cool? That moment. And then usually I'll give like, what's up? A head nod, but I still holding eye contact with like, hey, bro, like you're not intimidating me at all. Like, and then can we be friends? Cool. And usually we'll be. But I think if you take another guy who's not as confident, They make that eye contact. They're immediately going to look away and look down and pretend like they didn't look at the guy. And now that guy senses some sort of weakness, you know, and they're like, oh, okay. That's where the problems start to start. I just watched Jocko Willink talk about this in his podcast about how people profile people. So I think martial arts is so important. But the reason, going back to the women thing, is that women have more social anxiety about someone just getting them than anyone, but so few women do anything about it. And this was like a kind of a heated conversation me and my partner had recently, and I'm so glad that she saw it from my perspective after a while. And maybe you disagree with me, but I want to really get into this. Women feel too entitled to safety. And that might sound like, of course we're entitled to safety. Sure, but why? Right now, do you feel safe? It looks like you're in your house. You probably feel pretty safe in your house behind a closed door, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, like, the world is just the world. It's a wild, unruly place. And of course, we have laws, we have police officers, we have this structure we follow. But people break those laws all the time. People get abducted, sexually assaulted, kidnapped all the time. And so it's like when people don't take any precautions, don't do any training, don't plan around it. I'm like, hey, how entitled do you feel to this safety? Like, are you even looking around? Like, one of the areas I notice this the most is if you're at a stoplight in downtown, like here in St. Pete, I'm sure it's the same with you in South Florida, in a downtown area, and I'm at a red light. When the pedestrian walk says walk, my truck hasn't come to a stop yet. People will just start walking. They don't even look.
Yeah, they don't even check.
If I saw and I have stopped. Of course I did.
Yeah.
But I think to myself, dude, how entitled do you feel to that that I wasn't checking a text or who knows what, you know? And so I think that's just like, that's a perspective I want people to focus on, is like, we are not entitled to anything. It would be nice if the world was mutual respected and no one perpetrated crime. So the world's far from perfect, and they do happen. So it's like the entitlement to safety, especially women. I think women should be preparing for some self-defense, have a taser, have a firearm, go to some classes, have some sort of preparation, you know, so when they're out in the world, they can at least remove some of that fear, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. So that's what you think we should do, is take self-defense classes? Because
I
I
think,
wouldn't even know where to start. Like, where would I even go? You know, that's
yeah,
the
because
barrier.
for training, it takes years.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, how much do you weigh, Megan?
120 pounds.
So you're a 120-pound woman. If you're going to stop a 200-pound man from assaulting you, it would take years of training to physically best him. So I think that's where a machine would come into place, a gun or a
Yeah.
taser. So yeah, you would go get some lessons on how to use those. I think a taser is a great one for me because you can have that. It's not a gun, but it
Those are
absolutely.
legal in America,
I just
tasers?
bought one for my partner
Oh
for a
my
dog.
God. So
We got attacked by a dog.
in Canada, we can't even have pepper spray. That's where I'm
No,
originally
you're legal.
from.
I bought it on
And
Amazon.
okay.
This is an example, and this is like, nothing has happened to me in years and years. No physical altercations, nothing. We have a Doberman puppy we just got. She's 4 months old. And I'm walking the other day, and we live in an area of town where I'm right by the water. So I have my headphones in, and I'm listening to Odessa, and I'm vibing, and I'm walking my puppy, and I'm going, the music's kind of loud, and I'm just walking out in the sidewalk, just in a nice little area of town and through some residential area. And out of nowhere, about an 80-pound pit bull just beelines it, just plows into my dog, grabs her by the throat, neck, and just starts shaking her like she's a rag doll, trying to kill my dog. No exaggeration. It was out of nowhere, and it was so violent and so aggressive. Headphones go flying out. I start stomping the dog, kneeing the dog, kicking the dog in the body. The owner is about 7 seconds behind the dog, chasing after his dog, and he like jumps and kind of tackles onto his own dog, grabs it by both of its back legs, and was like, "Get your dog and just go," because he couldn't get a hold of him.
Oh my
So I pick up my
gosh.
puppy. I run away. I think that she's legit dead because she's like in this seizure, and she's like trying to bite my face because I'm holding her in my arms. She eventually calmed down. She was fine. One little puncture and she was okay. But as soon as that was done, I got home and I actually was like borderline tears that night because I'm like, my girlfriend and my daughter walked that same area all the time with the puppy. And I was physically able to stop the dog for a minute, but not much. It wasn't like I didn't beat the dog up. The dog was so tough, you know? It wasn't like I could really hurt the dog too much. And so immediately it was like what to do for dog attacks. So went the whole wormhole, ordered taser, ordered spray, you know, just so she can have it when she goes out. But yeah, on that note, I think women should prepare. Like, just, we're not entitled to anything. People, right? You're not entitled to that brand deal. You're not entitled to a successful business. You're not entitled to physical safety at all times. You can earn those things and you can put yourself in a position where you can have them, but it's not just from being naive to them and being so ignorant to, like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
I think too, you'll get what you work for. So the more you like you're paying attention to this now and you just did all that research and now your family is protected and prepared, but you
yeah,
might not have thought about that otherwise had that scenario with your
never.
dog ever happened.
Never thought about it. I made a whole video about this, and people were, dude, there's like 100 comments just because people were like, "Holy shit!" And I was like, the only reason I made it right after it happened. My leg was all bloody because the dog bit my
Oh
leg
my
and
God.
stuff. But I was like, "Yo, like people need to know that this can happen to you in the nice area of town. Like this wasn't like I wasn't in the hood. You know, this was like crazy what happened. And it was just kind of blew my mind that it happened. But that can happen with the person is the point. So
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, move on to the next subject. So we talked about the TRT, talked
Yeah.
about Odyssey. What is up with your extreme fashion sense? So if anyone knows Megan, Megan is a fashionista of like all fashionistas. She is always in such a curated, put together outfit, and it's not like she's mixing jeans with a new shirt every time. I mean, this girl's like head to toe decked out. You told me there's a secret for that.
Okay, there is a secret because the truth is, I haven't bought a piece of clothing that's not activewear that I'm going to sweat in over a year. And because what I found is I have shiny object syndrome and I have that with clothes and I love new clothes and I get bored of clothes so easily. And I was buying all this fast fashion, but then I learned how bad it is for the environment, how the
Ooh,
companies treat their workers, and all the toxic chemicals that are sprayed on these products in
okay.
their factories overseas, which is a whole other thing. So there's a health layer, there's an environmental factor, social responsibility. So I thought, okay, I'm going to spend the next year and not buy a single piece of clothing. But I love clothes and I'm always going to events and have different things that I'll need nice outfits for. So then I found clothing rental. So I rent all of my clothing now and it is the best thing I ever found. I belong to two different memberships and you pay a monthly fee and you can just swap in and out all the clothes. And sometimes the clothes come new with tags. It's not like ratty old clothes. They're clean, they're dry cleaned, or brand new, even. And
Okay.
I can just keep swapping through
Do you
all
pick
my
what you want,
clothes.
or is it like
I
a
pick, I
okay?
pick what I want. There's like an app on my phone, and I just send back the other stuff. I don't even have to wash it. I just send it back and don't have to do the laundry. And then I just get the new stuff arriving to my destination. And the best part about this hack is a few months I was traveling quite a bit. And so I only like to bring a little roll carry on suitcase because I don't want to check a bag and have to wait for it.
You were
But if
shipping
I'm
them to where you were going?
so then I was shipping my clothes to my
Now that's a hack.
destination
That's a
and then
hack.
it would arrive for me. I would wear
So
it for that
smart.
conference or whatever, not have to wash it, send it back, and then order the new order to my next destination and
So
keep
smart.
doing that. It's the best thing ever.
Do you have any affiliation with these brands yet?
I don't have a formal affiliation. Each of them gives me in the app like a code or something that
You
I
want to
can
drop what they
share.
are? Like they would love to know the viewers.
Okay, yeah. I'd have to find what the exact code are so you can DM me and I can send it to you. But one of the companies is called Fashion Pass, and that's more trendy, colorful
Okay.
type of clothes. And then the other one is called Rent the Runway, and that's more high end, like Hervé Leger. Each piece could be up to like $1,500.
Do they have guy stuff?
No,
No. See,
sorry.
so for men, it's so different. That's amazing though, and I love it. Women have a such different fashion, right? And it's like both. It's such a double standard, but it's like women have it easier and harder than guys. Both. One, when it's summer and it's sweltering hot, and you're going to a nice event, women can wear all kind of skirts and dresses and still look professional, but still be light. I'm going to be in a suit, sweating my ass off, miserable, but I have to wear this. I'd rather be wearing a polo and shorts, but I just don't look the part.
Hmm.
Um, the other side of it, women obviously to stand out with fashion as a woman and like present well, more accessories are needed, more different outfits, more pieces, constant changing. I was just telling you this before, like I have built basics and cuts. They're like $60, $70 shirts. They're not cheap stuff, but they fit so amazing. I have long sleeve and short sleeve and polos. And that's like all I wear. I interchange these, and I have 5 tailored suits, 5 different colors. And so I always have something when it's a formal or like a business event. But for men's style, it's like there's not too much variety. And honestly, and I could be totally off because I'm 38 years old. I do not like the style, how some men are dressing nowadays, where it's like too young, like the loud, crazy, chaotic colors, and they look like the anime shirts and all this stuff. I see that, and it's like it's hard for me to take them serious when I see that. I don't know what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, there's all these like big saggy sack shirts that guys are wearing, and
Yeah,
they're spending an outrageous amount on a t-shirt that's so ugly. Like
yeah,
some of these cool trendy brands have like the ugliest stuff, but people don't care because they like the brand.
right.
I mean, I like it when guys dress like a classy gentleman, you
That's
know?
it. I think your job as a man to wear clothes, you can have some fashion forwardness, like a good theme party. I'll rock that out if it's time. But in general, I think that like for men, especially, this is going to help your life if you're trying to be professional or get those brand deals we're talking about. Look masculine, and what masculine is not screaming for attention. So like if you think about a masculine man, that's not the man that's the loudest guy in the room. It's going to be subtle colors, low patterns, and you're just there's something wearing that complements you and your masculine physique, and you let your personality show who you are. But when you see someone else that's like so loud, and women are completely different, right? But men are like, I don't think many women want to be in a relationship with a guy who's trying to like outdress them all the time and be the focal points. Like let her be the cute one,
Yeah,
and
let
you be
her be the star and you can
yeah,
just, you
you be
can
the tough one.
compliment her
Yeah.
nicely, but
Oh,
yeah.
you just brought up something that I want to bring up that I've talked about for years, and
Okay.
I bet you've experienced this. Tell me, okay, you know how it's like, okay, I'm trying to think of the way to frame it. Our society doesn't lend itself to male self-love very much. And the most clear example of this is, well, there's two. One, I'm at like you've seen the cover of with Lizzo on the magazine. I forget the cover of the magazine, but she's very overweight. Okay. And they're
Mhm.
female self love, female body love. She's morbidly obese. No way around that. That's what that body that I was looking at was. But they're saying this, the new standards for female beauty have changed. This, that. Imagine if it was a super overweight fat man on the cover. Like, this is Chad. He eats pizza every day and drinks beer. The new standard for male attractiveness has now changed. It wouldn't work. They'd be like, hell no. He needs to be in shape. He needs to be strong. He needs to be a strong fireman that can throw me over his shoulder and carry me out of a building. And then you see this so clearly. And I experienced this so much when I was married. I was married for for years, and I had a partner. When we would put a photo up together, we could both be dressed to the nines, tailored suit, new haircut. She's in a nice outfit. We're going to a nice event. You would have the comment section go crazy. Guess what the comments were about?
How she looked? I don't
Only,
know. Yeah.
only. It's only catered to the female compliment. Men never get the compliment. Maybe one of their buddies will make like a homophobic comment saying like looking sexy there, buddy, or something, but it's really, really rare. It's almost always the females get only compliments in relationships. And yeah, I think from the male's perspective, and that's something I learned about when I was in men's groups after my divorce, was how many men have such a destroyed ego from being in a relationship. Because once they have a partner, their partner is the focal point of all the social media attention. And when they post a photo together, you're so lucky to have her. She's stunning. You're beautiful. He could have been putting a lot of effort into looking good, being in shape, and having some nice clothes too. And our society doesn't cater. Like, how often would you, if you saw another couple, comment the guy looked great? Probably
I
not.
would never.
And that's it. Why is that, right? Because even another guy can comment on you, Megan, you look stunning. That's normal. I could say that on your post, looking great, Megan, love the outfit. That wouldn't be weird, and that'd be so normal and socially accepted. But it's really rare that it's to the man. So it's like women will never compliment someone else's partner if it's a man, even
Mhm.
if it's like a cool outfit. Dude, love your hat. So you don't even see it. You know what I'm saying? Why do you think that
Yeah. I don't know, but it sounds like a double
is?
standard, especially with the when you reference the Lizzo thing. I never thought about that because we're doing all this stuff for women's body positivity
Yeah.
and empowerment. But you're right. What about the men? And
Yeah.
what message is that sending? And I
Imagine if
do,
yeah.
it is, it's difficult because I feel like for men, their closest woman to them is their mother or sister for most of their life. And then when they find a partner, now they're completely reliant on that partner to give them that validation or those
That's the
compliments
only place it comes
because
from.
it doesn't come anywhere else. And
You
it's
know,
not their
that's
fault. It's
exactly.
nobody's
So
fault.
when you really
Yeah.
think about it, if you're a pretty woman and you're taking care of your image, you are going to get showered by attention from everyone, from every woman you know. I mean, even on the street, someone doesn't know you, girl, you know how that is. They'll stop
Yeah.
and tell you how beautiful your hair is, your heels, your outfit, everything. Guys do that too with outfits. I definitely experienced that, bro. I love that watch. Dude, where'd you get those shoes? I experienced that stuff too. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying most men get their get their sense of self, especially their self-attractive, their sense of self-worth destroyed in relationships because they stop hearing it. And unless they have a really good partner who's highly attracted to them and tells them on the daily, hey, like your shoulders look great, babe, you're working out, like these things that men still want to hear because they're working their ass off for someone. But a lot of times when the relationship gets to the point of it's stagnant now and she's had him for 5 years and she's no longer telling him these things. You get what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So the way society points it, they want the man to get no attention from anyone on social media. They want to give him no attention themselves. And then if he went and seeked it somewhere else, how could you do that? So it's like it's a tricky world. And I learned this a lot in the men's groups that I was in, men that got post-divorce, and they came out of these marriages thinking that they're completely worthless and no one wants them because their wife left. And then they find out actually I was one of them that I felt like that. Like when my ex-wife left me, I felt like, man, I must not have it anymore. And I quickly realized that wasn't the case. But it was because when you are a taken man, any kind of physical affirmation ceases in
Yeah.
our society.
Yeah, and it's particularly difficult if your love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah. If you're a dude who works out really hard and you would love to hear it from
Yeah.
somebody, you don't hear it. So it's like, of course, find a partner who understands your love language and is going to love you in that way. That's the first thing. But it's just an interesting topic that people think about. I want people to think about more. It's like a couple post a photo. Just start looking at the comments of couple photos now. You
I'm
will,
gonna start looking at
you
that.
will
But at the
never.
same time, I don't think I'm gonna start commenting on a bunch of dude stuff too,
No, I'm
because
not telling you.
it's like
Sure. No, but exactly. That's my point. Is that I think women are so much more.
we're
I
just
think it comes
conditioned
from the
this
desire
way.
that women are conditioned to feel like, hey, someone could try to take my guy, and all women probably share that same fear, some insecurity, like someone's trying to get my man. So that it's like, oh, hey, let's form a truce that we're never going to take each other's mans, and let's just not do
Yeah.
it. But back to the magazine cover thing, I think that makes so much sense. Like all the topic on the masculinity, the trans, the feminism. It's like, here's the perfect way to say it. No matter if you're pro-feminist or not, or you're pro male self-love and 400-pound Chad in the cover of the magazine, if there was a fire, okay, there was a fire and you needed saving, who would you want to be who they sent? Right? You want Chris Hemsworth kicking down the door, throwing you over shoulder and climbing down the ladder and then going back and getting your cat or whatever animal you have. That's what you want. That's the best way to put it. What's the standard for a masculine man? Think about that. Think who you'd want to come save you if shit hit the fan. Right?
Yeah.
That's something that I always try to explain to people. It's like you can be pro whatever until you're the one that needs a man to come and use that male essence to apply themselves somewhere.
Yeah. Although, and then there's the whole thing, which I'm sure you've probably heard about on one of your interviews before, but how birth control is affecting women's pheromone system. Have you heard
Oh
of
yeah.
this? And how it's affecting your mate selection. So now
Yeah. Big
women
time.
women are choosing more feminine men because their pheromones are all messed up. And then when they go off
Talk
their
about
birth
that.
control,
Let's get into that. That's important.
okay.
So, birth control does this to modern relationships. And if I say something that sounds incorrect, you tell me, but I feel like this is a
Yeah.
really important subject. We talked about this in Alicia's podcast, but we didn't get too deep
Okay.
into it. This is huge.
Yeah.
Your gut microbiome makes up your immune system. Okay. And so there's billions of little organisms in there that make up your gut microbiome. And there's so much room for diversity amongst human beings. This could be cultural diversity, location diversity, ethnic diversity, whatever. So a man from India is going to have a very different gut microbiome than a woman from Hawaii. That's just the regions they live in, their ethnicity. Their immune systems are different. So there's all kind of ways that people can pair with gut microbiome, but the reason why our bodies and our pheromones make us attracted to certain types of people is because they have a more diverse gut microbiome. So if you are super attracted to someone, just literally like how they look, how they move, how they smell, especially like their body odor. So if their BO smells good to you, that means your gut microbiome is very different than theirs, aka life's way of saying if you two have a baby, very durable baby's going to survive, it's going to make it, their immune system's strong. Two people are very closely similar, hence brother and sister, it would not be a very durable, strong baby. That's why that's shunned upon, right? That inbreeding. That's why you see the result of inbreeding in different societies. That's, they have like Down style babies. So what birth control has done is it changes the woman's hormone profile and how they interpret those signals that they're different when they're on birth control. So Jane could be super attracted to Chad, and then everything's great. They're loving each other. Chad's so sexy. When Jane sees Chad take his shirt off, she's like, "Ooh, that's my man. We're gonna have kids. I love it." Blah blah blah. They get together. They get married. She stops taking the pill. Suddenly, Chad's not hot anymore. Suddenly, no matter how much she loves him and how much she tries to fight through this, she's just not physically attracted to Chad anymore. And that's happening to tons of couples in marriages now. If I said that incorrectly, let me know.
You said it correctly. One thing I want to add is for the immune component too, it's also for survivability of you as an individual. So I will choose a partner whose immune system is much different than mine. So in the event that there's a virus, one of us might get sick, but the other one won't. And I actually have the perfect example of this. So I know I picked the right partner in my life because my husband had COVID next to me for 2 weeks, so sick, and I didn't even have a sniffle. I didn't get sick at all. And I thought, okay, we're immune compatible here.
That's amazing. So yeah, birth control can change women's perception of their male mates.
And so the birth control will also alter your hormones in a way that now you're choosing a more feminine man because your hormone system and your pheromone system, which is that scent of the sweat and what you're subconsciously attracted to, is significantly different. So, like you said, when women go to get off the pill to get pregnant, and they're so many years into their relationship and they've been on the pill this whole time, now all of a sudden they're repulsed by their partner. And they're thinking they have no desire for their partner. How did I get here? And why do you think the divorce rate is so high?
Yeah, it's like over 70%. It's so crazy. Me being one of them, right? So yeah, it's crazy how that happens. And I think more people need to know about that side of things. And yet, like the pheromone odors is so interesting that I just watched a video explaining how they connected one of the studies where they take several like t-shirts from men that men wear, and they have different women smell the sweaty t-shirt.
Yeah.
And so it's like the same t-shirt, like you could smell a shirt that your husband wore, and you could be like, even if he wasn't your husband though, you could be like, wow, like that's attractive. That smells, something smells like a fucking man. And then someone else could smell them like, ugh, like they would
be
just
repulsed.
completely repulsed by that. So it can change from person to person so clearly, like 50-50 polarization on that. And that's so interesting, right? You know, so it's like one of the early signs if you're finding your partner's body odor like not enjoyable to you, you know?
Yeah, that's why I don't know if you have siblings, but even your parents, but if you ever get a whiff of their body odor, it's like, oh, the worst. Like I have a brother, oh my God.
So funny.
Like so disgusting. I can't that smell, but it's on purpose. It's biology so that you you're not attracted to these people.
No, for sure. I know like that was something that was happening in royal bloodlines forever. Like royal bloodlines were like inbreeding. Like,
really?
Yeah, like royal bloodlines, they believed that they were genetically superior. So it was like cousins and with cousins for years because they wanted to keep the bloodlines together. And they ended up just breeding like weak people, you know, just making like weak people for that reason.
Not good. But so anyways, back to the birth control stuff. Dr. Jolene Brighton has a great book, Beyond the Pill, and a ton of resources. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the female hormone system and what hormonal birth control can do for you, so it's an unbiased book and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not any kind of expert, but I would just say like people probably shouldn't take it from everything I've read. I don't see how much benefit it can have to take hormone altering substances as a woman. But yeah, read the book if you guys are curious about that. There's so many things we need to learn about. And there's a lot of decisions people make now that can affect you later. And so it's like that's one of them, you know, the marriage. Another one, which I actually would love to get your insight on. This is one that I've been pretty open about, and I know it's a controversial topic, is like the OnlyFans industry. I want to know what your thoughts are on that. And before I do, here's how I've framed it. And one of the videos that I did, which was clear enough to me, is the video was titled, it starts off being going OnlyFans. And I was like, guys, I want to hear from my guys here, from my high value men, AKA the men that women are actually going after. And they know who they are. I'm not talking about the dudes who like work at Verizon, you know, and go to the gym and are 22 years old. The entrepreneurs, the successful guys that have their life in order, have their life put together, and are looking for a partner, a life partner to have kids with and to marry. And those men are out there. And those are the men that kind of own the dating pool because women actually want to be with those guys. I was like, would you ever date a girl who does or has done OnlyFans or marry them? And it was like 87 comments, AKA fuck no. all of them. And so the concept is like a winner taking the quick, fast buck now for the attention. They're like 21, 22 and super hot,
Mm-hmm.
but their hormones are going to point them to settle down at some point. And now they've closed off so many of their options with that. So what's your thought on that like whole sexualized industry?
I think it's really scary what's happening with all this OnlyFans stuff because, we have to remember our brains don't form until we're 25. Our prefrontal cortex is not solidified in place. We still have new brain cells to grow. So these super hot 20, 21-year-olds see OnlyFans because it's becoming normalized. It's on people's
Yeah.
Instagrams. Everybody posts about it.
Yeah.
All these people are doing it. I could see how it would be appealing as a young girl seeing this easy way to make money when maybe you're trying to be an influencer or make something of yourself and finally get validation and attention and redemption and do that. But at what cost? Because I'm not super familiar with how the platform works, but I'm assuming that content probably lives on forever or
It's the
someone could
internet. Of
screenshot
course
it
it does. Yeah. It's
or
internet.
whatever. And I think a lot of these women who are going on there aren't thinking it through in the long term, and there's going to be consequences later, and it's sad. And I don't know the right answer or what to tell these people, but basically you have to think long term and what this is going to do for you. And is this going to maybe open some doors, maybe financially, okay, but also a lot of doors might be closed because of it.
Absolutely.
Certain employers might see this because people are putting it right in their Instagrams.
Yeah.
And it's basically a porn website unless I'm missing
No, I mean,
something.
it is. And from the male perspective, one of the biggest problems I have with it is I'm huge on like curating your mental, right? So the mental spider webs, I think we talked about this last time I talked to you. Like every time you engage in a conversation with someone, you have now taken something from them, absorbed something from them. This conversation, I'm going to think about it on when we're done. I'm driving over to Tampa for a networking dinner, and I'm probably going to review things that we said. And that's just how that's how social interaction works.
Yeah.
So I'm huge on cleaning out what you see, cleaning your feed, cleaning your mind, cleaning your conversations, not letting them have access to you. If you come over to my house, like a person, that means I've invited you here. That's a big deal. Like for me to invite you to my home, this is like my little sanctuary. So like, that's not everyone that I know comes over here, So I'll meet you out if you're an acquaintance. If you're a friend, you come over here, we'll do grill out, we'll hang out. So it's like social media. This is what I notice, and it happens to my feed all the time. And it infuriates me because you can't turn it off. There is constant recommended post in my Instagram feed of irrationally hot women doing irrationally hot things like shaking their ass or just alluding to something constantly. And it's OF girls trying to drive traffic to their page. And it pops up my recommended for you feed because I'm a guy. I don't follow accounts like this. I don't follow thirst trap accounts. And there's no way to say, don't show me content. You can't turn this off. It just keeps recommending it for you. And it infuriates me. So like it's so clear that it's no longer even people's decisions. It's the system pumping it in to males' minds and taking advantage of males' visualization weakness. Men are so visual. So no matter how loyal or in love you are as a man, you're still going to be visually stimulated, right? Like anyone, your husband, I know your husband, but I'm sure he's a dude. If you see something that's very attractive, he's going to be like, man, like you can't unsee it now that you've seen it.
And you linger a little longer on the, the hot pics, and the algorithm is really smart and it picks up on that and it'll keep serving that content.
And once you've seen it, it starts the mental spider web. It starts to make you more lustful, more sexualized. Now you're sexualizing the stranger you see at the gym, and this is a whole topic that I got into in this video about this. But I think it's just fucked up because it's preying on the human psychology of it. So it's like sex workers as females are preying on men, and the men who engage in OnlyFans and pay for that content are most likely not the men who would attract that woman in real life. They're after the alpha males, the ballers, the alpha daddies who are out here that if they were out, they'd be like, that's the guy I'm gonna go on his boat with him. But the guys who they're getting money from are the complete betas that hide behind the screen and don't work out and don't have any, so it's like, it's a really toxic system that I think people need to be aware of. And
it's really low vibration too.
Yeah, it's dirty money. I do believe in that. I think dirty money, the energy's sticky. So you can make your fast, dirty money, but it will equal an unhappy life. So if you make money off of like sex traffic or drugs or something shady or shisty, you might make your money, and you're going to try to live the rich life, but you're going to live a rich, miserable life. I've met people like that have all the money and they're still just so miserable as a person. So I think that it does come with their own sense of punishment. But yeah, like the bigger picture is that at a certain point, and I'm not going to speak for all women, but I think I do understand this. Most women, at a certain point, you're not going to live a fully fulfilled, happy life without a life partner in it. So most women, if you're a straight woman, at a certain point, you're going to say, hey, I think my life would feel a lot better if I had a man to share this experience with, to care for me, to fit the complementary opposites of what I don't do well, to keep me safe, to make decisions for us, like these things that women want, right? I'm not saying that's everyone's dynamic, but if you're doing OnlyFans, you're 21, 22, it just sucks when those girls turn 28 and they're trying to find a good man. But he's like, but hasn't the guy who worked at Taco Bell seen your pussy for $4? And it's not going to make him feel good. And it's like, yo, for a man, like status is a huge part about why you pick a woman. You pick a woman because you're like, hey, you're going to be carrying my name. You're going to be raising my kids. You're going to be with me. You represent me. And that's a part that people need to be aware of.
Yeah. I mean, no judgment, whatever people choose to do, that's your decision. I just hope everybody thinks everything through more than just what they see other people living this lifestyle, and then they want a part of it and their quick money at the end of the day. And if it wasn't OnlyFans, there's always things, there's probably other things out there already that
there's other websites I'm seeing. There's one called there's a local guy who I met. I liked him a lot. Went to dinner, had a lot in common with him. Successful, very similar vibe, physical condition, shape, style as me. We vibe in a lot of things. And when I started talking about how he makes his money, he runs an OnlyFans consulting business where they consult and they run the accounts at OnlyFans girls. And I was like, bro, I can't really be your friend. Like, I don't want to engage in this. Like, I don't want to be affiliated with the energy a part of that. I don't agree with it. And there's like a decision that I was like a bummer to make because I liked him. And he wasn't offended. He was like, oh, I get it, man. But I just don't really want to hang out with the guy who's known for that.
Yeah. And that's shocking that most of those, like the big accounts, it's not even the real person running it. It's a team of dudes in a basement somewhere, like holding conversations. Yeah.
They do content creation days. It is a weird world, but I mean, obviously, like, I think that what you just got married, you're in a relationship. That's what the family life looks like. And how long have you been with your partner?
4 years.
4 years. And it probably feels good. You have someone that really knows you, someone that's really going to care for you. And it's like, that's what we tend to gravitate towards in society, is like a partnership.
It's shocking too, because I never saw myself as someone to even want to get married.
Really?
And until I met my partner, and we were just having this conversation the other day. I think it's so important who you choose, because honestly, I just didn't think I would find somebody who would let me be me and do all of I'm really ambitious and there's a lot of things I want to do. And I just didn't think that person, my match, existed. And so I'm very lucky and happy that it did. But I think who you choose as your life partner, it has the power to either elevate you to the next level or really, really hurt your potential.
100%.
And it's one of the most important decisions you can ever make, because if the other person doesn't have qualities that you want or the same goals and aspirations, if they have qualities that hurt you, that you might pick up on, because we become who we're around.
Yeah.
So if your partner is not also having a growth mindset and trying to elevate themselves and work towards all these things, then you're never going to reach what you want to reach. And that was really important for me in choosing a partner. And when I found my husband, I think the last 4 years we've been together, I've just keep leveling up every year because we hold each other accountable.
So true. You see the power. Look at Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, these couples you see, like, they give so many. Vic Tipnis, who's here, is throwing this event called RiseCon that has all the great speakers at. All the credit they give to having a stable partner to hold it down. And I think the best piece of Andrew Tate content that I've ever seen, I just saw recently. I was actually surprised because most of his stuff is very like, you watch his content. Have you seen some Andrew Tate stuff?
I've seen some, yep.
And I agree with a lot of it. I think it's like giving alpha male men more of a voice that they didn't have in this world, because they were kind of like, it's like, what's the first thing you say when the boat's going down? Save the women and the children. It's like no one gives a shit about the guys. And it's because like men are supposed to be strong and provide for themselves and care for themselves and have confidence. But how are they going to get confidence if no one, if they don't have experience to give it to them? But the piece of content that I saw, which is so true, he's like, I've lived an incredible life. He's like, but if there's one thing that I would love to see, and I want to say it as a regret, but if there's one thing, he's like, I would love to go back in time 5 years ago and just be with one woman for 5 years instead of 15. He's like, I think I would be 10 times in a better place than I am now. He's like, I think all of it would be amplified. He's like, because he just had women coming and going the whole time.
Yeah, it's a
And he's like, I feel
distraction.
like if I just kept one good one for that 5 year period, he's like, I just think I could have amplified everything I built here. And I was like, wow, like it's good that he's getting that message to people because it is so true.
Yeah.
Like I was telling this to one of my jiu-jitsu coaches. One of the reasons why my partner Melinda, I love her so much, is she's like, she holds me so accountable. If I'm I'm doing those super nasty hit conditioning workouts, or if I go to like eat candy or something or do something bad, she'll be like, I thought you were that dude. Like, I thought you were that guy. I thought you were, and she knows right how to say it, how to motivate me, instead of like how most partners are like, oh, baby, it's cool. Just, what? Like, they'll just completely just self-indulge you, let you do whatever. And she knows, she's like, it's cool, but I thought you were that guy, and right away I'm like, fuck, okay. And it like pulls it out of me. And I'm like, all right,
Uh-huh.
fine, yeah, I am that fucking guy, and it's like having the right partner can absolutely do that. Plus, how much wasted energy do you spend trying to find the next partner? If you're a single woman or a single guy, I know it now because I still have single guy friends. When I talk to them, what are you going? And like the amount of locations that they have planned for themselves to hit on a Friday night. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna grill steak with my daughter and Milena. We're gonna hang out and get up early in the morning, go do this. It's like it's crazy. It's like I'm gonna hit here, then I'm gonna hit this club and this club, and it's because they're looking for something. And then the dating is all these new conversations, and you got to get to know somebody, and it takes up so much mental. So then, how much do you have left to go manifest your goals?
Yeah, it's a lot of energy, a lot of distraction.
And
So when you,
yeah, no,
yeah,
please
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, when you have that one person that you can rely on that's on the same path as you can get laser focused on what you want to achieve, knowing that they're there to support you with your goals. So you don't have to be out at 5 locations on a Friday night. You can be working on your business or do
Yeah,
like having a networking dinner, going, it's your life changes. And maybe it sounds boring because some people love that single life of going out and clubbing and partying and stuff, but it gets old.
I don't miss it one bit, and I thrived in that environment, and I do not miss it. Like I'm a very confident guy. I like to dress up, and I'm very conversational. So as far as like I did have a lot of success rate with women in that environment. If I wanted to meet someone and date them, it would usually go my way, and I don't miss it at all. It was a season of my life that I'm like, wow, like
Mhm.
I'm glad that's over with. I will say, and this is something that I want people to really like grasp, because when you're hearing this and you're like, hey, like easy for you to say if you found your person, like Megan was saying, she never thought she was ever going to find her husband. But one of the best ways that I've experienced to find that person is to not look for that person and to focus on what you want to do anyway. So your heart's going to have a song no matter what it is, and it's telling you to do something. Your instincts are almost always going to be correct. How many times have you guys in life had an instinct, not listened to it, and later you go, shit, I was right the whole time? That's like 9 out of 10 times for me. And I'm learning like, yo, dude, your instinct's like always right. It's smarter than you are, but I don't listen to it. So whatever your instincts are telling you to do, to work on, to build, to focus on, just listen to that. Focus on you and do the hard season. And then your partner will bump into you at the grocery store. Or you're going to find them. You're going to be at the auto dealership waiting for your car to get serviced. And they're going to be right there, and they're going to be beautiful, and it's going to flow, and the conversation is going to be nice. It's like life really has a way of presenting the things that are right at the right time. And if you're out and you're looking, I hate to say it like this, but you're looking for the other people who are looking, and people who are looking tend to be a little desperate, and it's not the it's not the best case. So it's like sometimes it's like if you're a single guy and you find that single girl and you're both on missions, and you're not like obsessively needy and you don't want to see each other 7 days a week, that's a good place to be. Hey, I got something I'm doing. May I can make time for you on Tuesday? Great, let's do it then. And approach it like that. I think that's how modern dating should be, but it's not. It's like people scrolling on the apps constantly, doing dinners every single night, and just like cycling through quick sexual escapades and then moving on. And it ends up with like this empty feeling.
And it's so forced. I think if you're
Mhm.
already as a single person whole and complete and living the life that you want to be doing, then the rest will fall into place. You'll naturally find out one of your hobbies or something you're already doing. You'll find somebody there that's in alignment with
Yeah,
what you
exactly.
have going on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so well said. So as we're getting ready to wrap this up, I love how our conversations flow. The biggest piece of the content pie that I want everyone to hear from this today is that most people that are active on social media do want to work with brands, and like the word that I've always used is called like a lifestylist, where if you're living your lifestyle well, you're going to easily attract brand relationships. The way your energy goes, you're just going to find opportunities. You don't have to work too hard to find them. But what is some of the best advice you can give someone like 21-year-old Megan? What would you give her when she's 21 and she's got a curated image and she's cute and she's healthy and she's all full of energy, but she doesn't have a lot of experience in life and she's trying to find some brand collabs? What advice do you give these people or to yourself at 21?
First, I would say you have to be resourceful because in this day and age that we live in, there is no excuse not to find something out. If you can Google it, you can find out the answer. So find brand collab templates for outreach messages to brands, split test them, track what you're sending to brands, track the response rate, and see, okay, this subject line's working or this one isn't working, and just double down on whatever's working. And don't give up because you have to be consistent with your posting, with your outreach, with all the brands you're tagging. It is a lot of work. It's not easy. So if you're not going to do the work, then don't bother. But if you're willing to do the work, be persistent, do your research, put a little bit of a personalized touch into any of your messages that you're sending these brands, not just as copy paste, because the collaboration managers can just see through that and they get hundreds and thousands of them a year. So you need to be able to cut through the noise. Do that, and I think you'll have a pretty good chance at success because already with those things that I said, most people who are trying to
They're
make
not
it,
doing it.
they're
Yeah.
not doing it.
I can give you a perfect example of that. And I that was probably the best advice I've ever heard in this subject because it's so true for me. However, I don't think I verbalize that enough. Like, like the things that we just do that naturally are who we are, but we don't teach it. That's like,
Yeah.
that's that. I'm that, but I forget to teach that. It's like, I kind of forget. I'm like, no, that can be taught. But like, for instance, I have a brand new, gorgeous cold plunge sitting out on my back patio. Those things are $6,000. I would buy that product and I was going to buy that product. But however, I was like, I've had a lot of success with brand relationships before. Let me see if I can form with this brand. I sent them a message on Instagram multiple times. My message was never read. I think a lot of people would stop right there. However, I don't. So I start doing some research. I find them on Shark Tank. I find the owner's name on Shark Tank. I sent him a personal message on Instagram, invited him on my podcast, had a conversation, had a person-to-person connection for an hour and a half. And then after, I make the conversation about a relationship, and it was immediately a yes. But it's like I was still looking, and I wanted to find how am I getting to get around the gatekeeper. And it's like I think about those things all the time, and to your personalized touch. The studio that I went and did the podcast at today, which is a huge podcast in my city, it's called Talkin' St. Pete. It's at a large real estate office brokerage. As I'm leaving, one of my businesses is we do real estate media. We have an online course teaching real estate agents how to create content and grow social media. So we teach these in-person classes. Me getting into a brokerage teaching classes is huge because it leads to a lot of clientele, a lot of revenue for me. So it's all about me getting in front of the broker and having him say, yeah, come teach a class and I'll fill the house out with our agents. You with me? Mm-hmm. So I go in there and as I'm in this office, I'm leaving and I got asked the receptionist, hey, who's the owner of this building? Who's the office? Gives me the guy's card, cell phone numbers on the card. So right while I'm in his office, in his building, I take out my phone and I record a selfie video with what I want him to say. And I text him that. And I say, please watch at your earliest convenience. Beautiful building. So that's going to be a lot different than if I just send him a text, say, hey, love to have a chat with you. So I'm in his office. Hey, here's who I am. Here's what I just did. I was just invited as a guest in your podcast. So those small things people don't think to do make all the difference because like you said, they're getting a ton of messages. They have to stand out somewhere. And one of the best places to do it is to stand out. Like I think a video selfie is one of the best ways, even if you can embed that into your email.
Mm-hmm. Something where there's tools. There's tools to help with that too now, where you can make those custom personalized messages using AI.
That's awesome. See, what are those?
I have to remember the name, but I can send it to you later.
Send it to me, or even post a story. Everyone go follow her page and post a story with information. I would love that. Megan, it's always so great to talk to you. I love it. I think we gotta do it again soon.
I know. I feel like there's so much more we could have talked about that we didn't even get into.
We'll run it again. That's the beauty of this. It's
Yeah.
like, I think that's the thing that I'm starting to learn. When I first started this podcast, this is going to be episode 20. When I started it, I was being too serious and too tight, and I was like, this is my fucking office. This is my fucking show. Like, we can talk whatever we want, whenever. There's no time limit. We can do it again. There's no structure to any of it. And that's what I love about it so much, and that's why I'm so relaxed on it, because I'm like, yeah, this is just whatever we want it to be, and you have a message, you want to get it out. So I'd love to do it.
Exactly. I love it. This was great. Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
All right. You guys go follow her and stay tuned for the next one.